What's up, everybody? It's Max. I'm back. I'm making a new video. This video is a process video where I'm talking about how I made this piece, which is kind of the first piece in a series of larger watercolor drawings that I'm going to be making over the next few months. Basically, I have an art show coming up, and I've been kind of back and forth on what I wanted to make for the show, whether I wanted to show work I've already made or whether I wanted to do watercolor or digital pieces, and kind of like what subject matter I wanted to tackle with this project. And I finally decided that I wanted to do watercolor because most of my client work has to be digital for logistical reasons, I guess. Like if a client needs changes and you're doing watercolor, it's really hard to make a change to it. So I thought this would be a good excuse or opportunity to do some watercolor pieces, larger pieces that are really more planned out. Because typically when I work in watercolor, I will just sit down and make a piece and I won't really think too much about it. But I wanted to approach this more like how I approach my digital client work, where I come up with a concept and really workshop it and try to make it as good as I can. So yeah, I have time-lapse videos of the process. The videos of me actually drawing and painting it is kind of low quality because the export time was taking forever, and I'm on a schedule right now, so I can't wait that long. So I had to lower the quality of the video, but next time I'll try to have a higher quality video. So yeah, let's get into it. So here you can see there's this piece of architecture that I was inspired by. I've talked before about how I went to school for architecture, so I'm always really inspired by architecture, and I really like this kind of brutalist, geometric, really shapy architecture, I guess you could call it. My professors would have hated me for saying that, but yeah, so I was inspired by this image, and I really like how the end of the building, it almost looks like it's this floating mass. So you can see in a second that I actually just traced over that and then isolated it. Here you go. And I kind of just put it into this desert landscape, sort of like Mobius-esque. Not super original, but there's something about deserts that are kind of magical. So I thought it was a good setting for it, and also it's such a big strong shape that I wanted to make it even more powerful by putting it in a kind of barren landscape. So yeah, here I'm adding some color and trying to get the value structure of the piece and composition figured out. And at some point I decided, oh, it'd be cool if there's some characters sitting underneath it, and I'm writing out some notes about different things I'm trying to do. And at this point I still wasn't sure if I wanted to do this project in digital or watercolor, so I was really struggling with that throughout this whole process. I was actually getting really stressed out about whether or not I wanted to do it digitally or watercolor, but I'm really glad I ended up doing it with watercolor because I don't know, I just really enjoy using watercolor, and I think I like the process better, and it's very relaxing. So here I started transferring it onto paper. I bought some 100% cotton paper, which I've never used before, and it actually is amazing. It's worth the money, but I would say if you're a beginner with watercolor, just use regular student paper, because you probably won't be able to have enough control over the medium to for the paper to even make a difference. But I've been using watercolor for probably 6 years. Since I started sketching in architecture school, I would do my observational sketches in watercolor. So I feel I know the medium well enough to move on to this higher quality paper. But one thing I didn't expect was that because the paper is so rough, when I inked the piece, it was a very scratchy line, and it kind of ended up looking alright, but I might switch to like a smoother paper for the next piece, but we'll see. I'm not sure yet. And here's the watercolor itself, and I'm using a blow dryer to kind of dry it quicker, because when you're working in watercolor you don't want to put paint into a wet area unless you're intending to do that, so you kind of have to let it dry before you start the next layer. But that can take forever, so if you have a blow dryer, it just speeds the process up a lot more. And here I'm like starting to just put in the basic colors, and then I'll start adding in darker tones to make the composition pop a lot more. So basically I have this kind of like frame of vegetation and these blocks that the lizard is on, and they kind of frame the piece, and then the main cube is kind of the focal point. So yeah, I don't know like a whole lot about composition. I'm actually taking some online classes on schoolism.com right now for that purpose, but I guess I know enough to make an image that's somewhat compelling, because people are hiring me and I like my work. I don't know. I'm not trying to I don't know. I'm not trying to be like cocky or anything, but I have a lot to learn. I have so much to learn. I feel like the further you get into art, the more you realize you don't know anything about art. So I'm on that journey now. But this series is kind of intended to let me see where I'm at with my skills, and then after all these pieces are done, I kind of want to like really dig in and like do some studies and exercises and learn some new skills before I dive into another series and do this again. So yeah, you can see here I'm adding the final touches of the piece, and it was kind of scary making this piece, you know, because I spent a decent amount of money on the paper and put so much time into it, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, all things considered. Here's a high-res view of it. But yeah, I hope that was a decent process explanation. And I'll see you next week for another video. Hopefully another process video. We'll see. Alright, bye.